I should not have screamed in terror that fine day. Saw that purple wig and did not know what to say. It left me sort of startled and confused. Red lips and white makeup and those big old red shoes. But my daddy tore a knot in me for being so damn rude. He said, son, don't you know that clowns are people too? Clowns are people too. Big red shoes. Clowns are people too. Don't be rude. If you weren't a bit lucky, then this could easily be you. I met your mom when she was up on that old trapeze. What can I say but hey, I had a thing for circus freaks. I started watching Bozo and warmed to the movie It. Killer Clowns from Outer Space to me was a big hit. Some people like McDonald's because of Mayor McCheese. But Ronald is my homeboy now, and Krusty and Pinky. Clowns are people too, big red shoes. Clowns are people too, don't be rude. If you weren't a bit lucky, then this could easily be you. I met your mom when she was up on that old trapeze. What can I say but hey, I had a thing for circus freaks. Clowns are people too. Clowns are people too. Now I own some tiny horns and got me those red shoes. I don't know much, but know one thing that's true. If you don't know anything, just know that clowns are people too.
Welcome to Inside the Gamecocks, the show, part of the Chief Sports Network.
Mad Dog's upstate raised and reared up near the tater patch. He flirted with that upstate team, now bleeds garnet and black. It's been almost 2 decades since JC started Big Spur. He may live outside of Chicago, but he's all Spartanburg. It's the show, the Gamecock Show. ITG, Phil and JC, it's the show. It's fun and entertainment, but also information, things you cannot get on radio. It's the show. Gather around all you Gamecocks, it's the show. The show, the show. Let's go. JC and Mad Dog Mully on the Gamecock Show.
Welcome in, everybody. It is Inside the Gamecocks, the show. Mad Dog, JC in with you to get you here from noon until 2. Hope everybody had a great weekend. Some interesting football games over the weekend, determining which teams go to the Super Bowl. And it looks like more of the same from a couple years ago, JC. We get the Kansas City Chiefs and, of course, the Philadelphia Eagles, where my Commanders just couldn't get a hold of them and ended up letting that game get away early. Turnovers, man, kill you.
This weekend was a weekend of empathy.
Yes,
truly.
Right.
I had a lot of empathy for a lot of the results this past weekend, including you and your Commanders, Phil.
Yes.
tough one. I thought they had a good season, all things considered.
Oh yeah,
but turnovers and they just the defense just wasn't. They weren't stopping.
no.
Philly, obviously 55 points. Yeah, more of the same. Buffalo Bills fans get a lot of empathy from me this weekend. South Carolina men's basketball team, players, fans, a lot of empathy.
A lot of empathy.
It's a lot of, it's a very empathetic. I have a lot of empathy, okay, for the weekend in sports and more of the same. So, like, I'm going to start off with a question, like for the thing. And we may start doing like a question of the day and a thought of the day. We may do more like daily little things to kind of stir the pot since, we don't really have football games to break down and stuff like that. We're going to talk a lot of recruiting, a lot of roster construction, I guess, is the new term for it this off season, and talk a lot of basketball, baseball, whatever. But we're going to, we're going to probably do some weird thoughts. But so here's my question, and I put it up as a poll on the YouTube channel that we're on. By the way, hit that subscribe button if you haven't.
That's
please.
right. Doesn't cost you a thing.
Who is all right? Are you sick of the Kansas City Chiefs? Not that I don't admire them, but are you sick of them?
Yeah, to a certain extent. And I think some of it is just like the surrounding narratives with this team, right? Like it's got, somebody dating Taylor Swift, so she's always going to be a part of the conversation. You got, Mahomes' brother is always part of the conversation. Kelsey's brother, of course, we got another. Fortunately, Jason has retired, I guess, so mom's not going to have to wear the split jersey in the stands in a couple of weeks. But yeah, you know what? I'm not tired of Andy Reid because I really appreciate what he does. That's a ball coach right there who knows how to get the most out of a team, can do it in different ways. But I don't know. I'll be over it after the Super Bowl, because at this point I cannot pull for Philadelphia. That's just not in my makeup. And then the other side of it is Patrick Mahomes has the opportunity to do something that Tom Brady never did, and that's win 3 in a row. And I'm kind of pulling for history in that regard right now. Just that way you got, because everybody's chasing Tom, right? So now you get the opportunity to like do something that he never did and isn't going to be able to come back and do again.
Yeah, I have a few thoughts on it. First and foremost, there are some teams you hate out there that are really good and I'm kind of a contrarian that's always going for the underdog anyway. So except with the exception of Alabama, when they were getting to, even if they weren't playing Clemson, I'd tend to pull for them in the championship games. But Dynasty, I was never a Duke basketball fan. I pulled for him once when I was a kid because my dad did the Johnny Dawkins year. I hadn't won it in a while, or I hadn't won it at all, or for a long time. That was Coach K, I think. I don't even think they won it that year. They ended up losing the never nervous Purvis Ellison in the finals in the mid 80s. Never for Duke in basketball. Respect North Carolina basketball because it's never boring. Right. I can't remember the last time I watched a boring North Carolina basketball game. It's up and down, all that good stuff. But, I was more, when I watched ACC hoops growing up, more of a Wake Forest, Georgia Tech guy. I'd pull for the underdog. So I'm not really a latch on to the Patriots or anybody like that in the NFL, obviously. So I'm not, I tend to go against it, but I respect these guys. Number one, because of Andy Reid. And I said this morning on Coffee, Phil, what if Andy Reid coached in college like Bill Belichick's doing? To me, that would be, because Andy Reid, the genius of him is he's a great play caller and a great offensive coach, but he suits it to his players. right?
Mhm.
And so he wouldn't, I don't think he would have any of this problem with being too complicated. And I mean, obviously they're running basically Mike Leach's air raid with a lot of little, you know, a lot of little, it's different than the Cliff Kingsbury air raid, but there's so many different concepts that they've stolen from Mike Leach,
Right.
the Chiefs, and he just dials it up. I think that dude in college would be dangerous. I mean, like really freaking like Steve Spurrier level dangerous, dicing up teams. But that's a stupid hypothetical. So I love Andy Reid. I like Mahomes as a player, man. I mean, I think he's a relatively humble individual. He can't help his brother or his wife or whoever's around him.
Yeah.
He seems like a good person. The Taylor Swift narrative is just, look, man, here's the thing. When you're dating a mega world superstar, I mean, Taylor Swift's one of the most famous people, not in this country, in the world. The world.
You
know, there's going to be that attention because guess what? The New York Post, for example, I read the Post every day on the app. I think there's a lot of funny stuff in there, and it's good, good reading. But man, Taylor Swift, there's an article, boom, Taylor Swift has arrived. Here's what she's wearing. I don't give a flip.
I know.
I don't give a, you know.
It's the first thing my youngest asked. He was like, "Are we going to get to see Taylor Swift?" I was like,
man,
"Yeah, more than likely she'll be on
goes.
there a few times." Yeah.
But the flip side of that is the massive ratings in the Super Bowl last year,
right?
Because of her and some people that maybe were never interested in football before have now learned the game, and I think that's good considering you have people out there trying to kill the sport. You can't kill it right now, but trust me, dude, they're breeding in decades from now where, football's too violent and oh my Lord, you know.
Oh my goodness.
I'm like, why don't you just anyway? But yeah, so I think that's good that there's a lot of young girls out there, girls in general, that are now interested in football because Taylor's dating a football player. And that helps the sport. It's healthy. You know, it's healthy to expand your base. And I love football and I want it to last forever. And, you know, I think that's good. But then you get things like on TikTok, it's like, so Taylor's boyfriend's playing a football game at the Usher concert or whoever was halftime.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I mean, you're like,
concert.
Okay. So there's that. The Taylor Swift thing, it doesn't bother me. I mean, like, look, I don't actually hate her music. I think I have a lot of, she's like the Chiefs to me. I respect what she does. There are some things I really like, some things I don't, you know, it's just, I don't celebrate her entire collection, but I've got some songs that I like of hers and they're good. And she's a hell of a songwriter. I mean, unbelievable. You know, so that's good there. Then you have the referee situation and that kind of sticks in my ass a little bit. And I think the reason why is because South Carolina, in my heart of hearts, we all know South Carolina got completely screwed out of a game against LSU this year. And it ended up costing them bigly.
Yeah.
Had they won that game, Phil, they not only would have gone to the playoff, they would have been in Atlanta playing Texas for the championship because Georgia and South Carolina would have gone down to like the 6th tiebreaker.
Right.
And it was like margin of victory. And South Carolina actually had a higher, you know, they would have won. It would, if it had gotten to the vote, Georgia's winning the vote, but, or the coin flip or whatever, most likely. Yeah. but that's just kind of how it is. And I think I'm just pissed off at bad officiating in general. I don't know what to do about it, but it maybe it's technology and the fact that you can watch any play in any game 16 different times. And sometimes you could trick yourself into believing something that it's not. And so you got that narrative. Everybody's out on social media with a voice. I thought the Texans call the roughing on Mahomes was insanely bad. The spot last night, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Either way, I am sick for the Buffalo Bills fans, though. I was telling my wife about 4 falls of Buffalo, the 30 for 30 about the time the Bills lost 4 straight Super Bowls. My stepson had no idea the Buffalo Bills lost 4 straight Super Bowls.
4 straight. I
He
mean,
was
it's
like,
hard enough to get there, right? And then to lose 4 in a row.
yeah, he was
In
like,
a
bro,
row.
really, bro,
Yeah,
bro. I got the surprised bro.
bro.
And then the actually, and then the low key, that's weird. Low key, that's weird.
Yeah, right.
Low key, that's weird. But even he didn't know. So I started watching that, and then, God, I forgot about what all Jim Kelly went through personally,
Right.
and just those 4 teams. And then it got progressively worse because it started. The Scott Norwood missed a field goal in Tampa, and the Giants won. Right, which sticks in their craw a little bit because the Giants are right there in the state of New York. It's upstate versus the city, whatever. So that hurt. And I think the Bills were 7-point favorites in that one. Then the next year, your Redskins rolled over them in Minneapolis.
Right.
And well, the Redskins were the best team that year.
Yeah.
I mean, that just was happening. So then the Dallas Cowboys out in Pasadena beat them 52-17. Cowboys come back, Bills come back. I think that was the first Super Bowl in Atlanta the next year. And the Cowboys very quickly made quick work of 30-13. And then that was it. And that's all you heard from the Bills. But since Sean McDermott's been there, they've been good. Right. And Josh Allen, and so they're a contender every year. They're just in the AFC with the freaking Chiefs.
I know. What a tough draw. You know,
I mean,
you're coming up in a time where you've got this dominant team and truly one of the most like level playing field sports, right? Like parity in the NFL is baked into the design. And yet you still keep running into this one team, these 3-4 guys, right? And can't get past it.
They're probably sitting there thinking, they're like, God, we just got rid of the freaking Patriots. They were in our division.
Right.
You know, the Dolphins aren't going any. The Dolphins talk about making moves. They don't. The Jets, you know. They're like, it's like the Goonies. Down here, this is our time.
This is our time.
Save me, One-Eyed Willie. Save me. But no, it's like, it's insane, that this is happening. And I'll tell you this about the Kansas City Chiefs too, Phil. And this is a good thing about them. They know how to win.
Yes.
They don't always blow everybody out. They don't always look perfect.
No.
But the game's on the line. They know how to win. And against the Chiefs in the playoffs, the Bills just don't. I mean, I remember the 42-36 game a couple of years ago. That's one of the best games I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
On TV. My wife and I are just sitting here watching it, and Bills look like they're going to win. I think the Chiefs had 13 seconds left and scored.
13
seconds.
Yeah.
And then won in overtime, 42-36. That's like the NFL playoffs for a few years up until this year just had some outstanding games. Like the year the Bengals and Rams met in the Super Bowl, outstanding games.
Right.
Like the whole way through. Now, not as many down to the wire last night was, but I just, when the Chiefs started driving, I was like, they got it. They got this, man. And then at the, there we go at the end of the day. But yes, Chiefs and Eagles here in a couple of weeks. I don't give a flip. And look, here's another thing I came up with or thought about this morning when I was preparing for the day. We're in the South, man. We're having championship football taken from us, Phil.
I know.
No, seriously, think about the last 2 years. You had the 49ers and Chiefs again last year. It's been a while since the Southern team's been in the Super Bowl. I think who was it? Some people think Cincinnati's in the South. I disagree.
No.
I guess the Southeast, LA obviously is in the South.
Yeah, but Atlanta's probably the most recent one.
Atlanta.
Right?
Yeah. Or no. I'm sorry. Tampa Bay.
Tampa. Oh, that's right.
The Brady and the
Brady
pandemic year. Because the Brady year, Tampa Bay. But I mean, and it's not, pro sports is different. I mean, there's a lot of people in the South that are Bears fans or Packers fans. So, but man, it's just like the same old Northeastern, Midwestern BS. And then we just got done with back-to-back college football championships. Notre Dame, Ohio State this year. Before that, Washington and Michigan. I mean, what is this, the 80s? I mean, you're like, nobody from the SEC. So, I don't know. I just kind of started thinking about, not that I don't think that the Buffalo going would have caused anybody in the South to be happy, but I know there are a ton of Redskins fans in North Carolina and Virginia, and some in South Carolina. Before the Falcons came in the 60s, Washington was like that was the team of the South. Steve Spurrier grew up in Johnson City, Tennessee. That's about a 4-hour drive from D.C. up 81 or 5, if anybody's paying attention. You go through Blacksburg and past where James Madison is and all that, and you go right into D.C. So it was logical he grew up a Redskins fan. That's what when he took the job, he said, I've always wanted to coach. I love the Redskins. I hate the Dallas Cowboys. Blah 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 blah. And so that's the deal there. But man, it's just I don't know, the Southeast. Hopefully next year the Southeast is represented at least in the college championships. But if not, let's get back to those days where there's an all SEC final. How about that? If the pit committee will let it happen. But Eagles, I don't know. I would probably pull for the Eagles in the Super Bowl if they hadn't won it. Remember the Nick Foles year where they beat the Patriots?
Right. Yeah, the Philly special, right?
Yeah, they've already won it, and so it's not like they're in a drought or anything. I like Saquon Barkley. I love Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts was like a low 4-star recruit that went to Bama. And I wrote the recruiting piece for the Sporting News. I'm going to brag on myself a second.
Right.
Mm-hmm. When I was at 24/7 Sports, it was the last year I did it. And I watched Hurts film. I was like, this dude's really good. What have we missed on this? And I wasn't necessarily in the rankings. I was kind of just, that was the last class I think I even had any feedback on, 2014, 15, 16. And I wrote, Jalen Hurts may be the best quarterback to sign with any school anywhere this cycle. Guess what?
Yeah.
He was.
That's right.
In 2016, he started as a freshman and definitely was, thanks to Lane Kiffin. So I like him. I like all the Georgia players they've gotten. Jalen Carter, who the Bears should have drafted. Did you see Jalen Carter jump over the offensive lineman, the block?
It will always baffle me how you let that slide down in the draft, right? A player of that caliber and talent at the next level, knowing that if it were off the field questions for a guy like that, you have the system in place to work him through that, but still get that freak athletics on the field.
Dude,
so
the Bears,
what a dumb decision.
The Bears traded up
right
to take with the Eagles to take Darnell Wright, a right tackle, in the top 10. And because like my stepson loves the draft, right? And I'm actually in Columbia. I'm sitting at home team barbecue because we had an NIL event the wife and I had flown into. As the time we did the one in Columbia, one in Charleston for Carolina Rise, and I met some of you out there. Krager was there that night at home team. So was Meredith. So was WG, Lauren Beasley, a bunch of people that I know and respect. But after everybody cleared out, we're watching the draft, and my stepson goes, "Oh, they traded up," because we had talked the whole months about draft Jalen Carter, draft Jalen Carter, draft Jalen Carter. I don't know if they're going to be able to, blah, 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 blah. Finally, it gets to 9. Jalen Carter hadn't been picked. And he's, oh, God, the Bears traded up. And then they took Darnell Wright.
Right.
Who honestly, man, good player. Surprised me how good he was at Tennessee. He's just a big kid from West Virginia, which there's no competition. Not great high school football there, unless you were Randy Moss. And it was just man, I've just never been high on him. Just thought he was a little stiff, whatever. And they took one of my least favorite players. And then the Eagles certainly went and drafted Jalen Carter. I mean, God. And then that guy, hadn't heard a word out about him off the field. He's been nothing but a freak show, a great, great NFL player.
Yeah.
Stud. And meanwhile, the Bears are just well, I don't know. I don't know. We got a good defense, not a great one. Right. Jeez. Anyway, so that's enough NFL talk on the day. But yeah, the Bears need to go on the stupid list for that draft.
Yes.
What was it? The 2022 draft?
22, I think, heading into 23. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was the 2020. really the 2020. When did we do that Carolina Rise? Was it 23? Yeah, 2023.
Yeah.
God, lots happened in 23. I got married at the end. But yeah, so yeah, we had a tailgate before the North Carolina game. That was a lot of events. A lot of events. But that's yeah, they need to go on the stupid list for that one. But yeah, Eagles in Kansas City, in the Nana Sports chat box. There's a lot of opinions on this. By the way, if you're not a Club Chief member, you want to get in like 30 cents a day, get in on the chat box, other benefits. Do that on our YouTube page. Cam says more questionable calls falling for the Chiefs again. Yeah, and that's unfortunate because it's starting to become a thing. Yeah. Sometimes things aren't a thing. Well, now it's a thing. I'll tell you one thing that's not a thing is the stupid narrative that now that the SEC can't buy players, that they're somehow not a good conference, but I'll address that later.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. That's dumb.
Lance, no, don't tell me your mom's a big Skins fan. It was rough over here. Oh, I hate that.
Yeah, man. Same.
I got a chance to meet Lance's mama at a recent event, and boy, she's great. Krager's sick of the Chiefs. Cam, I will talk about Jalen McGill going to Rutgers. Clint does not like the Kelsey Swift stuff. Krager wanted the Bills and somebody Manders auto play.
The Bills and the Manders.
Commanders. Oh, Manders.
Yeah, Manders. Yeah.
Manders.
Me too, Craig. I wanted to see the Bills and the Manders in Super Bowl.
This is my friend Chuck. He's a big Manders fan.
Big Manders fan.
He's a man. Lance says, kind of happy for the Chiefs fans. They were not very good for a long time. Now they are hopeful. As a Vikings fan, I hope to see that kind of success one day. Boy, the Vikings laid a turd in the playoffs this year. Had all that hope with Sam Darnold, and then boom, he became Sam Darnold again.
And then there he was again. Yeah. Oh, he is Sam Darnold. Look at that. Did you
We've missed you, Sammy.
Good to have you back.
Krager says some of the spotting of the ball against the Bills was total BS. I tend to agree. That was the first down by Josh Allen. He says, but before it was a first down, it was so blatant. Felt bad for Josh Allen. Cam says his mom started watching the Chiefs because of niece's love for Taylor Swift. Now my mom knows the entire starting offensive line for the Chiefs by name.
Listen, my wife was talking to my mother-in-law on the phone last night, or yesterday afternoon, and she was like, "Well, you know the game I'm not going to miss." I'm like, "Oh Lord, is she really?" She's like, "Who's that team that's red and white? What? Like Kansas City? Yeah, the Chiefs." Oh man, I love the Chiefs. I'm like, well, okay. wonder why you love the Chiefs. It just goes. Now, my mother-in-law will back a winner. Like if it's a winner, it's her team. Like she'll shift allegiances. Yeah. Oh, she's definitely a bandwagon front runner. But hey, I mean, she gets to do that. She's 80 years old, so whatever she wants to do, she's gonna do.
Goodness gracious. All over I love the Chiefs now.
I love them. I love
$40. Give me my $40. Right. Anyway, so yeah, a lot of people like the Chiefs. They say Mahomes wears 15, Cam said, so the rest will know how many yards to give him every time they throw a flag. Clint says, I don't understand the logic in watching football just because Taylor Swift is there. She's not playing. If James Hetfield was at a Jai Halai match, I wouldn't watch it.
Well, listen, I'll watch Jai Halai regardless of who there because it's exciting.
Oh, is that how you say that?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's that one where they wear the little scoop hand things and they sling the ball real fast around. It's called a cesta. I know what it's called. It's called a cesta. And then Jai Halai is exciting.
Wow, that's awesome. I need to probably check that out. Cam says that goes over the 12-year-old girls had logic. Yeah, this logic of man. I'm so glad I don't have to worry about the logic of 12-year-old girls. Yeah. Speaking of Todd Golden, Florida's basketball coach, and I'm going to say something good.
That's awesome.
Oh man, that was a great segue. So he's actually been cleared. So I apologize for all the little snarky comments I made about him because obviously in this country, you are innocent until proven guilty. The independent Florida Alligator that went after him on this, now that he's been cleared, they need to face some consequences.
Yeah, they really should, because it was
Yeah.
there wasn't very much allegedly.
And this is what
some of those stories.
I'm not going to get into politics, but this is called the weaponization of Title IX. And it's happened for the last 10, 15 years far too often on college campuses, where stuff like this comes up and there's nothing you can do about it because you don't have any rights, because the crazy people that are trying to pin this on you are supposed to be believed, even in the interest of like all the facts are against them. So, yeah. And look, you have to admit it was kind of funny. I mean, you know, but I apologize for that, because this he's been cleared and they investigated it thoroughly. So that means, i.e., it was made up, and the student newspaper, because they have an agenda, which is what they've been taught, and whoever the advisor is should be fired immediately, decided just to go with it and try to ruin this guy's life.
Yeah, because the story was just too juicy.
I mean, yeah, come on, man. I mean, look, come on. False narrative, harassed, some leaked information to the media. Somebody his attorney says somebody falsely posed as a Florida lawyer. I mean, that's just ridiculous, man.
Jeez.
I mean, that sucks. Sucks for him. He's got a heck of a basketball team. I just thought it was funny. He was, you know, taking pictures of, you know, whatever, and sending them. That's kind of bold, you know.
Yeah.
But no, he obviously wasn't. Todd Golden completely cleared. And I think the people that accuse, you know, until people start doing that in this country, you know, that's good. That's always going to happen, because crazy people have been given permission to slander other people with no recourse. Now it's starting to change. A couple of major news outlets have gotten sued lately by people and lost. Right. So that's a start. But that's when I talk about the weaponization of Title IX and why Title IX has really been bastardized by a lot of folks. As it, you know, when I'm talking about sports, that's the academic part of it. Even though it did involve sports, is that, you know, you have carte blanche if you're of one gender to do whatever you want, accuse anybody of anything, and there's really no due process. And then on the other side, you're just screwed. And I don't think that's not American. That's not the way our country is. You know, and so you can't punish everybody equally because of a narrative, just because of they're just sexist, you know. Anyway, so good. I'm glad he's off. And all that. I won't make fun of him anymore. So Julie was a Oilers fan. So boo-hoo to the Bills. Yeah, I watched that game where they blew the lead. That was sad. Yeah. Clint also was an Oilers fan growing up. We'll get back to more chat box after this, because I know we got to get into the first break. I'm going to talk a little recruiting. Cam had a good recruiting question that I'll pivot to, so we don't have to talk about Title IX, Taylor Swift, the Super Bowl, Todd Golden, any of that stuff anymore. Get back to Gamecock Sports, which is what you all love. But we'll be back after these messages. Don't forget, if you got some property damage, water damage, wind damage, man, that almost sounded like Stone Cold. You got water damage. What? Wind damage. What? What? Hail damage. What? You better go to Resto Pros. I'm telling you right now. Give me a hell yeah. Resto Pros of the Midlands, proud sponsor of Inside the Gamecocks The Show. Don't forget to download the Chief Sports app for a great listening experience. If you like to stream this live, it's totally free on Google Play and the Apple App Store. We'll be back after these messages as Inside the Gamecocks The Show rolls on a Monday.
There's nothing like Saturday in South Carolina. However you enjoy Gamecock football, Gamecock Traditions has a long-standing legacy of being a part of your game day. From tailgates to touchdowns, Gamecock Traditions has what you need and want with our beloved Block C logo. Get into Gamecock Traditions in Lexington or the Village at Sand Hill, or visit GamecockTraditions.com and have it shipped to your doorstep. We look forward to taking care of your family. Go Gamecocks.
When you bundle home and auto, good things can happen. You get a local agent who can help you choose the right coverage for you at a price that's right for you.
Call State Farm agent Tony Pope today.
Nana's Porch presents a Southern staple delivered right to your doorstep. Nana's Porch locally crafted pimento cheese has been a hit for years at weddings, tailgates, and other events. Now you can order online and have it sent to your home. Visit nanasporch.com. That's nanasporch.com and click the pimento cheese tab to choose between their original pimento cheese and their jalapeno smoked pimento cheese set. nanasporch.com, man, that's good.
When you bundle home and auto, good things can happen. You get a local agent who can help you choose the right coverage for you at a price that's right for you.
Call State Farm agent Tony Pope today.
One brand. Two shows. The morning show. Weekdays from 10 a.m. until noon. Then, the show from noon until 2 p.m. Go Gamecocks!
Welcome back, everybody, inside the Gamecocks The Show. About to dive into some recruiting here with JC Shurburtt. And of course, I'm Mad Dog Mullinax in with you. I did have the same question. I was listening to Coffee this morning, JC, and sorry. A little something there. I got sidetracked. No, we
okay.
Yeah. Got I was listening to Coffee, like I said, and I also have kind of the same question that Cam does. It was like, so can you help us understand how Jalen McGill is committed to Rutgers, of all places, as opposed to South Carolina, because he is an in-state kid?
It's a mystery. I mean, I said it as I have no idea what goes in these guys' minds. I'll say this: Carson Baker's the number one back on the board and has been. They like the Rule kid, RULE, from I think Gerard is his name, from Charlotte, that visited this past weekend. They offered 5-star athlete Derek Cooper out of Miami, who's a stud, who's high on the board. J-Ron Campbell out of Georgia has South Carolina as top 2 on the board. Maybe you just let him go to Rutgers and circle back if you want to flip him, is my thought. I knew this. Have a little nice contact. One of our, I'll just say this, someone that's probably listening right now helped me out with that information. And so I mentioned it in my tidbits that Rutgers was making a big push. But it's very interesting because, you know, the kid, I mean, I'm pretty sure South Carolina was up there for him. He visited so many times. He was also one that really liked like Tennessee and Alabama. According to at least one Clemson media outlet, they were surprised, you know, that he went there because Clemson had thrown their hat in the ring. I don't know. I don't, you know, is it NIL? Who knows? But opinions are mixed on him too. So who knows? I mean, I've liked him since he was at Broome. He's a Spartanburg County kid, so I'm biased toward them. I think he's good enough to play in the SEC, good enough to play wherever. I mean, I think he's a really good player. But there's been running backs through time that Carolina did not get that ended up being pretty good, but, you know, kind of I mean, Tion Evans from Hartsville, Tion Evans, that went to Tennessee, really, really good for 1 year at Tennessee, then imploded. And that's why Carolina didn't take him. Mustafa Green was a player back in Lattimore's class that was really good from Irmo. Went to NC State, did nothing. So I don't know. I've been wrong before, but like I can't sit here and tell you that I wouldn't have been fired up if McGill had committed to the Gamecocks. I will say other people's opinions on him are not as high. And Bruin, I don't think it had anything to do with money. I mean, if Rutgers wanted to come to South Carolina and offer that kid crazy money, then good luck. I mean, it's not, you know, it's not. I don't think it has anything to do with that, really. Do I think they offered him money? Yes, they have to get players out of the South. Do I think that was it something that, you know, if South Carolina really wanted to, they couldn't handle? No. So, I don't know. I think they're in good shape with some running backs. I think they'll sign 2, and so we'll see what happens. And there's more and more popping up every day. Like I said, the Rule kid from North Carolina is intriguing. The kid from Miami is intriguing. Campbell from Georgia is intriguing. They love Carson Baker. Tiffany from the chat box goes, how can we get a running back out of Georgia that UGA wants? Your guess is as good as mine. I didn't say they were going to get him. I said they're going all in on him, though. So we'll see. If I'm Georgia, I'm probably putting a lot of my eggs in. See what's crazy, too? Carson Baker, man, he's a high 3-star right now. Who decided? I mean, you know, Alabama, Georgia, South, everybody in the country wants this kid. He runs 10.6 500 meter. He's 200 pounds, 6'1.5 from Langston Hughes in Georgia, in Atlanta. I mean, why? I don't know that I necessarily agree with, like, let's just make these guys 3, you know. So I don't understand that. I think he's a really good back. And that's not just based on South Carolina's opinion of him, obviously. So I don't know. Stranger things have happened, Tiffany, I guess is what I'll say. But I think they will sign a running back. And I don't know. Look, I'm going to say this about Rutgers and McGill. It came so far out of left field that I don't know that it'll stick. Because that's just usually when guys make these crazy that means there's something facilitating that. And I'll tell you, South Carolina doesn't have a whole lot of help at the high school. There's not a lot of Gamecocks running around up there. You know, so he's not at Broome anymore either. He's at Mountain View Christian. So who knows what went into this decision, but, you know, it's funny. I mean, if it had been Tennessee or Alabama or somebody like that, then you just say, well, you know, he wanted to go to the big brand. But Rutgers, I mean, man, I've been to that campus, dude. It's kind of the birthplace of college football is kind of cool. The stadium's okay.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I was inside their practice bubble. The campus isn't even really, I mean, like I've been to Princeton and that campus, beautiful. And they're in New Jersey. Rutgers, not so much. There's a reason, everybody, you know. So we'll see what happens. You know, a lot of respect for Greg Schiano and Rutgers. And that was Phil's team for a long time this year.
That's right.
He was a downright Rutgers fan.
Yeah, Scarlet Knights, man. They were looking pretty good for a while.
You know. Cam asked about Mike Davis out of Georgia. Yeah, South Carolina's gotten a lot of good running backs out of Georgia, not necessarily beating Georgia head-to-head on him. Mike was weird because Georgia's kind of hot and cold with him. At the end, they tried to get him, and Clemson was too, because he was James Davis's brother. So that was what was weird about Mike Davis's recruitment. I don't think he wanted to go to Clemson. I think he wanted to go someplace else. And the Gamecocks ended up getting him. He ended up being one of the best backs in the country. And certainly, I don't know that Georgia was too fired up about losing him, but they were okay. I mean, I think they got Gurley and Marshall right around that time, so they were fine. There was no they weren't struggling. So you know, Kenny Miles came out of Georgia, but this is you know, Carolina's really Marquell Blackwell's getting after it. I think they'll sign 2 in this class. I can't tell you that one won't be Jalen McGill. I can't tell you they won't flip him, but I just get the sense that this wasn't something that was a surprise to the Gamecocks that he went someplace else. Judging on the feedback I've received, and it's not something they're too terribly worried about right now. So we'll see what happens. I'm not saying they didn't want him. I'm just saying that, you kind of go recruit and it's a process. And, Malik Clark, remember he flipped. Now he was a shocker because he came down to an announcement. Gamecocks saw they were getting him. He goes to Florida State. Well, he's in South Carolina now. So we'll see sort of what happens. Clint says, go watch Derek Cooper's film. Dude has some serious initial burst. I think he's classified as an athlete right now, but I'd take him as a running back if you could somehow get him. Yeah. You know who else was classified as an athlete, Clinto, for back in my day? Darren McFadden.
Some athlete.
I don't know who thought that was a good idea. He's an athlete. Right. I think I kind of have a theory, maybe, and I don't know. I don't even know if Trey was working with it. It was at Rivals when I was at Rivals back in the 2000s, mid 2000s. I don't know if maybe Arkansas was like, hey, because this happens sometimes. Can you classify that? Can you put this guy in the athlete category? Because we got these other guys we want to recruit. And remember, Felix Jones and Peyton Hillis were also part of that backfield. And I believe Felix Jones was in the Darren McFadden class. So I wonder if that wasn't like a favor. You tell, if Houston Nutt and those guys were like, well, Darren, we want to get Felix Jones so you can have a backfield mate. And so we're going to tell Rivals to classify you as an athlete. Because really, Darren McFadden could have played any damn where he wanted. Think about that dude as a defensive end or a linebacker or even a safety. Darren McFadden was a freak.
Yeah, he was.
So maybe that was it. That they were like, oh, he's an athlete. And then that way they could get Felix Jones. I didn't think about that. I have no proof that happened, but that's plausible because I think back on it. I'm like, how in the heck did this kid end up being? He was a running back. He was outstanding. But so we'll see what happens there. Don't forget Jaron Campbell from Georgia, who I don't think visited. He's a guy that Florida, Ole Miss, Carolina, they're all right there. Marquell Blackwell's really getting after it. I don't think that he's done. I think he's going to continue to do it. And then in state, honestly, the kid from Gaffney is really good. The running back from Gaffney. Right. Mm-hmm. Now, I'd have to really sit down and compare him to McGill and size and get a look at all of them and all that. But we'll see. We'll see. But Clint, you're absolutely right about Derek Cooper. I think this is one, Clint, right now, because nobody had him. Everybody likes to be right, and they like to be right 3 years in advance, and that's impossible. Watch him right now. He's just now getting offers. He's South Florida. Watch, he could be top 15 in the country at some point. I'm with you. I'm like, holy camole. Holy camole, Batman. So that's the deal there. Tiffany says, y'all watch Travian will sign an epic DT room this cycle. He's had 2 years to build relationships. Hopefully so. Lots of D tackles to the north in North Carolina this year. Not a lot in South Carolina. I think Travian Roberts has done a great job in the portal. I think he's done a great job being resourceful in recruiting. Do I think this is a situation like some of the folks that were disappointments in recruiting after they no, I don't. And I don't, it's kind of funny because Phil, you have the fire everybody brigade, right? Oh yeah. And they think firing everybody is what you should do. And I've kind of come to terms with that. I've kind of come to the realization that I think it's because people are entertained, right? Right. Mm-hmm. By things like coaching searches. And it's always fun. It's always fun to speculate on who's getting the job. It's always fun. I'm convinced half the people that said Mike Shula was a terrible hire were just disappointed that they couldn't sit there and talk to their buddies for 3 weeks about who Beamer was going to hire to run the offense. That's right. And dream a little bit.
They didn't get to, that's right.
Man.
Pick a few names around, call each other names on the message boards. Yeah.
It's like, wow, and so I'm convinced that's kind of some of the disappointment when there's not a firing. But it's funny because you look at Lonnie Teasley on the offensive line, and we all know the offensive line struggled last year. Probably should have been better. Was that all coaching? I don't know. You know, but he's recruiting better on offense at the offensive line spot position than anybody in the history of recruiting at South Carolina. Right. As far as just raw talent, blue chip players other schools wants. Lonnie Teasley is a beast, but they want to fire him. You know, flip that on the other side. They want to fire Travian because he's not out there signing all these blue chip. Now, where he's supposed to get them from, I don't know. You know, these blue chip defensive tackles that were supposed to appear out of nowhere. So that's the other. The fire brigade really is inconsistent with things, you know, and I'm not defending anything. Does Travian Robertson and the Gamecock defensive staff in general need to sign more and, you know, get those numbers right in that room? Absolutely. Does the offensive line need to be better coached and play better? Absolutely. But you just don't go firing people. And so I've kind of come to the conclusion that the fire everybody people are not bad people. They're not vicious people. They're bored.
They're bored. That's right.
They're just bored.
They have nothing better to do with their time.
Yeah, they love this stuff, and that's good. It's the reason I have a job. Is because people love stuff like that. LeClint says I called Ryan Mosley as the next commitment. Yes, you did, Clint. Yes, you did. Yes, you did, Clint. Yes, you did. You called the commitment. And I put in a crystal ball today. Ryan Mosley, 4-star receiver from Carrollton, Georgia, has a big offer list. Big receiver, good hands, stud. Vicari Swain's from Carrollton. So, you know, I like that. There's a lot of ballers in that Carrollton, Cedartown area going out I-20 West. And it's, you know, G.A. Mangus, when he was here, recruited there a little. It's been sort of a black hole for the Gamecocks. Like in Georgia, like that part of Georgia, Carolina hadn't always, frankly, recruited it. Now, now go down towards LaGrange and Columbus and all that, and like that part of West Georgia, they have. But there's good talent out at the I-20 West, and Carrollton has always had really good players. So, absolutely, man. I think that would be a nice early pickup for Mike Ferry, who's not slowing down anytime soon. So right. There's that there. So there we go. Tiffany says toxic people. Probably they're the ones on the Big Spur screaming they don't want the Smeagol kid. Well, they don't have really a choice. If Carolina's fortunate enough to get Smeagol, that's who the quarterback's going to be. They don't have a choice to say in the matter. I mean, and if you signed a dual threat guy that was 3 stars, they would be complaining that he's only 3 stars.
But yeah, it wasn't enough.
And it's only a small section of the fan. I don't want everybody to think I'm coming down on the fans. I'm not. I love you guys and gals. And 98% of you are awesome. But there's some people that I don't know what goes on in their brain. I think some of them use the message boards as a release to kind of complain about it. It's because they care a lot. At least that's what I'm telling myself. The people on Twitter I could give an F about. Twitter doesn't pay me a dime. Some people ask me about things I tweet and why I delete them. It's because Twitter doesn't pay me a dime, and I probably don't really want to get in a conversation with anybody out there about it. I don't owe them a conversation. I don't owe them a follow-up. In fact, they're lucky to be reading my tweets. That's how I feel. That's as far as how much I care about X and dealing with the people on X. That's it. I could care less. I don't care what you tweet at me, what you got to say to me on X. I don't care. I'm not giving you any oxygen. You're not important. I'm sorry, because people pay me on the Big Spur to answer questions about the Gamecocks. The folks in the chat box have a membership here, that they communicate on the chat box. Other shows, when they're in here on the chat box listening, that's a business enterprise. It makes, I get paid to do this. Why am I going to give it away for free? If if Elon Musk wants to cut me a check, I'll sit on Twitter all day or X and talk. But last I checked, he's not. So that's my philosophy there. Sorry for that aside. But yeah, I think Smeagol's definitely visiting. Was talking to somebody actually today, and after coffee, actually on my way back from the gym. Yes, I went to the gym today.
Oh,
Gonna be a long road back, fellas and ladies. Jeez, I did back today. Like, oh God, it feels kind of good, but at the same time, yeah, it's sad. But you just got to keep on keeping on. But on the way, I talked to somebody about Smeagol. And Smeagol.
I know. That's every time I see it. That's all I can. I
think I did that on coffee this morning with Smeagol, my princess, the fat one. Speaking of the gym, I hear the little goblins around the corner. The fat one, the fat one, the fat one with the shaved head and the big head. The fat one. Anyway, but Smeagol, good arm. You know what I was told today is type of guy that's going to win on Sundays. He's like, if he's going to win on Saturdays, you got to protect him. Yeah. Fair. Big time arm talent. Clint says his release reminds him of Dylan Thompson a little bit. Yeah, the kind of like live arm kind of deal, and all that good stuff. Clint says he'd rather have Curtis, and certainly would be happy with Smeagol. You know, Tiffany, who comes next in the Nana Sports chat box and says, I think Curtis is going to Oregon. I'm with you to a certain extent. Don't count out the Gamecocks just yet. I know I've been saying I don't think it's likely. And there's just one or two little things that I think there will be a discussion about. And depending on how those conversations go with both sides, just based on what I'm hearing, like nationally about it, Carolina's right in the hunt. So, and Carolina's done a good job recruiting him. So it may be, I mean, we're sitting there talking about probably the top quarterback in America as one option. And then a 4-star top 25 kid from California, top 50 kid from California, who just decommitted from Florida State officially, by the way, as the other possibility in the 2026 class. I think that's pretty stellar. Maybe they get nothing. You get nothing. Nothing.
You'll get nothing and like it.
How about that? But, you know, so anyway, then Clint would rather have Curtis. So I'm going to tell you that, Curtis. I'm going to swing back from the not going to get him to the don't close the door quite yet.
It ain't over yet.
Cam asks, has Vicari signed with Garnet Trust? Nothing to worry about there with the NIL. Have they released something? No. But, you know, I check on that every day because people are worried about it, Cam, and I'm told, at least as far as NIL, things like that go, there's nothing to worry about. So I don't have any knowledge. The Queen of the Cock says, we love you too, JC. Thank you. It's always great to feel the love.
That's right.
Bruin's like, you owe us. The Twitter mafia is brutal sometimes. I'm not scared of them. I just really could care less. I'm not, they don't, you know, the things they say don't bother me. You know, they can say whatever they want about me. It's fine. And I've never seen anything real egregious. If there is, just don't send it to me. I just don't want to see it. Right. But, you know, it's just like I could really give a flip. I mean, I think some of these folks, again, it's psychological. You know, I think that they believe because of the platform that they think they have that they're important, and they're really just not at all. Period. No. and so why should I give them any more further importance? I shouldn't. Not that I'm super important. Nobody, you know, it's a football team and a basketball team and it's a college sports program. Let's put this in perspective here. You know,
list of important program. Yeah, no.
Yeah. Lance says he kind of likes the Gaffney quarterback. Yeah, he's a good player. Carolina could circle back. Tiffany says, this is fun from the Nana Sports chat box. They're like the teacher in the Pink Floyd video, Another Brick in the Wall, going home to their fat, psychotic wives and getting trashed to the bone. We don't need no education. I hope I don't get flagged from YouTube.
Don't need no
Thought
thought
control.
control. Yeah, I don't
We
know.
harmonized
Yeah,
just
that's it.
then, Phil.
Yeah, that's it.
That
But that's how you throw it
harmonization's
off. That's how you throw it off.
So Clint says Furry can be very picky in this class. I agree.
Yeah.
The Queen of the Cocks absolutely love Vicari. Reminds me of Cam Smith a lot. He's so physical, very good man-to-man guy. And he's actually more physical as a redshirt freshman than Cam was. You know, Cam had to get there. Vicari is there. I love him. I think he's a great player. Tiffany says, I love the strategy of roster building, but I've been burned too much to fall in love with a player. The next time I fall in love, it better be Jadevi and Clowney.
Yeah,
The
no
next
doubt.
time Anyway, that was crazy. All right. We got maybe Paul Feinbaum going on the stupid list when we come back. I don't know. I don't know if we'll have the time.
I don't.
But hour number 1 flew by here on Inside the Gamecocks Show. Keep those recruiting questions rolling, football questions rolling. You got anything in the Nana Sports chat box, please, please, please let me know. We'll talk junior day. Got a little thoughts on basketball. Going to follow up some on the NIL stuff that Mike and JB, I overheard them talking about earlier today. Also, we are sponsored by Tony Pope State Farm Insurance. If you're in North Carolina or Georgia and you want to support a Gamecock in your home state, he is certified to sign insurance, car insurance, life insurance, whatever, in those states. It's a tri-state deal. Go to TonyPope.com to get the best rates or give him a call. His phone number is right there on the website, TonyPope.com. Tony Pope State Farm, serving a tri-state area. We'll be back after this on Inside the Gamecocks, the show.
I said, oh, Lord Jesus, it's a fire. Ain't nobody got time for that.
Disaster comes uninformed. During and after natural disasters or accidents, there can be a heavy loss to property. It can become extremely difficult to bounce back to what you knew before. Having your home or office destroyed or damaged by water, fire, smoke, or mold affects your personal and business lifestyle. Resto Pros of the Midlands is here to help. Open 24/7. Call them when you need them. 803-493-0170.
Touchdown Brewer. Set up a screen, and it goes to Brewer. 20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown Brewer, his second of the day. Pitches it to Brewer. Turns the corner. Touchdown, number 3.
Tell him Mike sent you.
Welcome back, everybody, inside the Gamecocks, the show. Second hour of the show kicking off here. Mad Dog in with you. JC, be right back, taking care of a little business. But, of course, we're sponsored, built by the Barndo Co. is exactly where I was going to go with that, because that's the one I can remember the best, JC. And we're always, always proud. Oh, you know what? I was actually looking at Barndo's over the weekend for a few minutes, because we are really wanting to get out of the HOA, right? Really wanting to get out of the HOA, move a little farther out, get some more land, not just a third of an acre with a whole lot of stipulations and irritating, nosy Mr. Good Neighbor folks around.
I couldn't. You're
helpers.
A better man than me.
It's my first experience with it, and the deal on the house was too good to pass up. But yeah, I hate the little notes that we get. You need to take care of that. I can see your trash can from the road. And that says our property value's down.
Yeah, I would just say, yeah, they don't. Yeah,
No,
dude,
they
I'm
don't.
sorry.
They have.
I could not deal with that.
Yes.
And it's and these people are very, very self. They're like the people on Twitter, really,
right?
Self-important. And look, they have a lot of legal protections too. Like, there's not a lot you can do.
No,
you have to be creative to screw with them.
Yeah, it's
there
ridiculous.
are a way you can do, but yeah, they can ridiculous. They're just ridiculous. Ridiculous. Welcome back inside the Gamecocks The Show. I'm sorry that I haven't been able to time the top of the hour break to go to the bathroom and back, so I was late. Because the old show, the top of the hour break, the first one, we had the national anthem and all that because it was national anthem time.
Right.
You know, it was noon, high noon. Now it's what, 1? It's 1 o'clock. It's 12 o'clock. It's noon here.
Right. It's high one.
High one over there. It's high one. But anyway, the Queen of the Cock says Tonka Hemingway showing out at the Shrine Bowl. That's the East-West Shrine Bowl, apparently. And I said on coffee earlier today, because I was talking about Bam Martin Scott. Of course, Beamer confirmed this weekend that Bam's just going to go on to the NFL. Tired of waiting on the stupid NCAA.
Yeah.
The NCAA is on the perpetual stupid list, so we don't have to add them. And you know, I would be too, man. I mean, that's his future, right? Make a decision. It's either he's eligible or he's not, right?
Right.
You know, and so he just decided, hey, I'm out. And I think Bam Martin Scott, if he has a good combine, has a chance to get drafted. He's on the list. Tonka Hemingway is kind of, they're two different positions, obviously. But I think Phil, Bam Martin Scott in the 3-4 defense as an outside linebacker, one of those pass rushing 3-4 linebackers that we see.
Yeah.
Nick Saban made a freaking mint off of them at Alabama through the years. Georgia uses them a lot. As one of those type guys, I think he can get on. And then I think Tonka Hemingway, and I think a lot of people in the chat box agree with me when we talked about it, I think last week, Tonka Hemingway, I think, is a 3-4 defensive end in the NFL. About, you know, get him down about 285. He's quick. He's athletic. He has a nose for the ball. Elite type pass rushing skills for a big guy. I don't think it's a coincidence in 2023 when they went to the 3-man front without really a nose guard, right? Without really a zero technique. I mean, TJ Sanders could play it or whatever. That Tonka started making more plays because that's an end type spot for him.
Right.
And I think that's good. I mentioned it this morning on coffee. So, hats off to Tonka, and thanks for sharing that. The Queen of the Cocks from your home base in Missouri, the Show Me State. We have a worldwide audience here. Clint mentions Rodney Dunham, big-time edge player out of Charlotte. Sterling Lucas is all over him. He's visited a multitude of times. But, Phil, who did we say was a problem in Charlotte? Last episode.
That's right. We just said it, and they're coming out of Knoxville to steal players out of Charlotte.
Yeah. Rocky Top. So I personally think Clint right now, just pure speculation this early, Dunham's probably Tennessee or South Carolina. Just following the visits, looking at the comments, all that good stuff. At some point, if you're the Gamecocks, you want to win those battles and start reversing the tide. But, man, they've just gotten everybody from ever since James Pierce. Sampson, they got the running back was from the Charlotte area that they got David Sanders this past year. I mean, they've done it's not been good. So you got to go battle Tennessee on him, but he's a really big time player or prospect at least. Tiffany calls HOA people a bunch of Karens.
That's right.
And Lance goes, y'all, Caleb Williams and Christian Ingram are big dudes and look impressive. I'm assuming you saw them in person, Lance, this weekend.
Yeah.
Would Christian Ingram have been there? There's some confusion as to whether or not. I don't think he's in yet.
Oh.
We need to ask Hale about that.
Yeah, we need to get Hale on.
Because we need to do that. But Clint says they are, Lance, but I think they may be a little more on the developmental side, which is perfectly fine. I would like to see Travian land that instant impact guy that Clemson has had recently. Ooh. I don't know, man, because, Christian Wilkins didn't – I guess he played – did he start right away? At Clemson? I know he's playing in some. Peter Woods is who you're talking about. Dexter Lawrence. Those guys are just not. They don't grow on trees.
No.
At D tackle. And Woods is playing some end. So I don't know if they exist, and we'll see what Amari Adams does next year up there.
Wilkins did play as a freshman, all 15 games.
Yeah, I knew he played.
Yeah,
I just didn't know if he was a starter. And I knew they used him.
No, only one starting assignment there,
Yeah,
and more than likely, yeah.
And I thought he was one of the best in the country at the Under Armour game that year. They got him out of Connecticut. I thought he was going to go to Penn State. Clemson got him very quietly, worked him and got him. I remember they used him on offense some that year too. Remember that was kind of the start of all that.
Right.
So, I just I don't know. I don't know about getting an instant impact D tackle. I don't even know that when has Carolina had a D tackle that's come in and played right away as a true freshman?
Pickens?
Yeah, Pickens played some, not a lot. He was a top 10 recruit. I don't know. I don't. I think that's a big ask, Clint.
Yeah,
a big ask. But I see where you're going. I mean, like, look, I'll tell you the prototype for that. There's two guys, Walter Nolan, and I'll always sing the praises of Walter Nolan. When I watched the Kentucky Ole Miss game this year, and then watched them play every other team, and I saw him sprinting to the sidelines to track down ball carriers and things of that nature. It's hard to get D tackles to keep moving like that. You know, when they're getting cut all day and things of that nature. Mm-hmm. I was sold on Walter Nolan. And then Dexter Lawrence, when he went to Clemson as a true freshman, that was an animal. Mm-hmm. That guy was, I mean, I remember I was like, holy cow. And they still got Christian Wilkins and all these other dudes. And this dude Lawrence is in the middle. He's huge and he runs around like a cat. Just like cat quick. I mean, you want to talk about it. He may be one of the biggest freaks they signed during that run. And they signed a lot. T. Higgins was a freak, obviously. Trevor Lawrence was a freak. But, dude, Dexter Lawrence, though, good God. I mean, I remember seeing him for the first time going, wow. He was from North Carolina, D-line heaven, which is where a lot of these guys are. So, I think that we'll see. And you're right, Clint. Clint adds that Tennessee is a problem in that area, but he's going to take his chance with Sterling Lucas. He's earned that level of trust. Yeah, Sterling wins battles in recruiting. He really does. Oh, there's a 5-star DN committed to Maryland for the 2026 class. Zion Ely, something like that. Sure enough, picture on X the other day with him in his University of Maryland gear. With Sterling Lucas up there just trying to flip. Hey, that's good. That guy's a big time player as well. Not sure the Gamecocks will go anywhere with it, but we will see what the deal is. Clint says Dexter Lawrence is who I was thinking of. Yeah, I mean, Dexter Lawrence. Wow. And look, I was ultra impressed with Christian Wilkins when Christian Wilkins came out. I saw him. It's the last Under Armour game I went to really scout. Saw all kinds of good D linemen. Christian Wilkins, Arden Key was there. The guy that ended up being number one in the country that year, Trent Thompson. I didn't have anything to do with that. I think he was at Army, and he ended up not being that good at Georgia for some reason. But there were some dudes on the D line, and D tackle especially, that cycle. And I remember being very impressed with him. And wasn't surprised when he got to Clemson and started making plays. Dexter Lawrence, though, is a different beast. That is who the Jordan Davis kid that Georgia snuck out of Charlotte as a 3-star offensive lineman and turned him in to one of the best, most dominant zero techniques in college football. Dexter Lawrence was that guy right from the start. Right? So, man, yeah, you're right. Carolina certainly could use a player like that. I mean, you get a player like that on the D line, and he stays healthy. You're in for some nice treats. And we wonder how did Clemson win those national championships? Well, they had a lot of great players.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, loaded up a nice roster there.
Simple as that. Simple as that. Tiffany says we need a group of spies to subscribe to opponents' message boards and go to their spring games. Need dark side intel. I can round up some intel from some other schools.
Yeah, we get access to it on the 24/7 side of things, but
I can tell you right now, yeah, Auburn It's not on the schedule next year, but they kind of think it's now or never for Hugh Freeze because it's not just the portal class they signed; it's the high school class they got too. I agree with people at Auburn that think that even though they were ranked behind Alabama in the recruiting rankings, that was a better class. They signed 9 of the top 12 in-state, and it was a great in-state class in Alabama. Alabama's top 7 were from California. I'm like, that's a long. The further you are from home, and now there's a transfer portal. So I just don't know. Yeah. I don't know, man. So we'll see sort of what transpires there. I know LSU is happy with their portal class. Is it going to make their defense better? That's the question. I think we're going to find out about LSU in week 1 because they go to Clemson.
That's right. They get a good test.
Greg McElroy said Clemson could be number 1 in the country.
Well, of course he did.
They beat LSU. I mean, I kind of looked. I think their opponents have been announced, not necessarily what order it's in next year.
Right.
But I think they could run up a really good record and win the ACC. You know, what happens when they get in the playoffs? I mean, I don't know. I think they're probably going to use a true freshman at running back. Their O-line's as good as it's been for a while. Everybody back on defense. They got a new coordinator, if that was the problem, last year. They do lose some players. But, yeah, Clint mentions Grady Jarrett. Speaking of Clemson D tackles, Grady Jarrett was a 2-star recruit. You want to talk about how things started going bad for Carolina? Carolina signed Phillip Dukes that year out of Marion, who I thought was a really good player as a junior. Senior year, just okay, but still a big athletic body. He was rated 4 stars. Grady was a 2-star. Who was better? Grady was better. Much better. Grady was one of the best players in the country and really good in the NFL too. You want to talk about leverage? That guy wasn't a shade over 6 feet tall. Leverage out the yang. Great piece of evaluation by them. But Grady Jarrett was a really good player. Tiffany asked about Oklahoma. We'll see. They're trying to hire a defensive coordinator. They went after Jim Knowles. By the way, for those that didn't know, Jim Knowles, Ohio State's D coordinator, he's getting out of Dodge. He went to Penn State, Philadelphia native, all that. So he replaced Clemson's new coordinator, Tom Allen, at Penn State under James Franklin. And so, some people now are claiming Penn State should be number 1 next year. They do return a lot of players.
Yeah,
that's true. We'll see what happens. But, so, and Oklahoma's got a new quarterback. I think they made a good hire at offensive coordinator. I think they got they got the quarterback from Washington State. A lot of people really like him. I think he's a good player. I think they should be better on offense. How much better? I don't know. How much better is Oklahoma going to be next year 2 in the SEC? That's a good question.
Yeah. Well, they managed a 6-6 record, right? Although it was looking real rough for a while.
Well, they won two conference games. They beat both Alabama schools.
Yeah, right.
Alabama and Auburn. And really, they peaked in that Alabama game. And they could have beaten Missouri, to be honest. They had Missouri. Right. It was 50-50 if they were going to win that one. And then Missouri took them. And then they just, LSU is funny because LSU played Vandy and kind of slopped by them by a touchdown or 10 points, something like that. Oklahoma comes in, and Oklahoma just beating Bama. And I think a lot of people, and this shows to show you why you don't compare scores. Because Oklahoma beat Alabama 24-3. Alabama beat LSU 42-13. But then LSU beats Oklahoma 37-17. So it's just, you just never know. And LSU did get up off they were 6-4. They finished 9-4. So they started hot and they finished hot. But I don't know. Coming to Columbia, it's a weird time to have that game. It kind of could scare you a little bit. Kind of sandwiched in there with Alabama and some of the others. So I don't know. LSU, I think there will be a lot of LSU hype this offseason because Nussmeier's back, and they had a really good portal class on paper, and we'll see. Like I said, opening at Clemson like that, those are two teams that will be pretty well hyped this offseason. That's the Saturday game. By the way, I've been sitting here talking about Carolina having the unopposed time slot. There's no other games on that Sunday after Labor Day. There actually is, and it kind of pisses me off a little bit. But that night, Notre Dame plays at Miami on ABC.
Oh.
Yeah, so they could let Gamecocks have it all to themselves, could they, Phil?
No.
But yeah, Brad was tweeting about it the other day about that Syracuse and Tennessee got the Saturday spot. And I was trying to point out that, well, number one, it's been known for a while that Carolina was on Sunday. I think the thing with Tennessee and Syracuse was, would it be Monday or would it be Saturday?
Right.
Because they do play some on Monday and the ACC game. So depending on who's got that home game. But the Vols and Syracuse are Saturday, Gamecocks are Sunday. I still think, unless that game with Carolina and Virginia Tech is going to be in prime time at night, then I still think that's good that afternoon to have, you're the only college football game on, the only football game on. There's no NFL.
Right. Yeah. It's the week before the NFL starts. So you got prime real estate there to show off your wares.
Southern Cal and LSU, I think, was an afternoon kickoff, or was it at night? I don't know. So anyway, that's the thing there. Who's going to – Alabama, I don't know what to make of them. I expect people to predict them high. Still, I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do at quarterback. My prediction is the freshman Keelan Russell will be playing probably by the time Carolina plays him. And that's a bold prediction. Now watch Ty Simpson go win the Heisman next year. And I'll be on freezing cold takes.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Kentucky's got some new pieces in place. How good are they going to be? I don't know. Vanderbilt will still scare the you-know-what out of you as long as they have Diego Pavia. That game's in Columbia. I know things aren't bright and sunny in Blacksburg because they lost a lot of players out of the portal, but you never know. Some of these guys they got from the portal could end up being good. I've never been a big Brent Pry guy. I thought that was a weird hire. You got rid of Fuente, and then a lot of people kind of turned it down, and it landed on Brent Pry. But maybe he is good, and I just don't know it. I didn't really think that guy. He was the Penn State D coordinator before taking Virginia. How many coordinators has James Franklin had?
He definitely cycles through them. No, yeah.
SC State's coming to town. It's always good to play them. The Marching 101 comes in. Coastal's later in the year. Clemson's later in the year. Yeah, so we'll see. Is Texas A? How good's Texas A&M going to be? Probably a little better, I would think. They got a lot of receivers out of the transfer portal, Phil, but I didn't think their receivers were bad last year. I thought they had good receivers.
Right.
So who knows? That game's out at College Station, at LSU, at Texas A&M, and then the one that really can kind of, send shivers down your spine right now is going to Missouri early in late September. Those guys, man.
At least Missouri. It won't be cold and frozen.
Nah, it'll be nice and warm in the Missouri Midlands of Missouri or wherever the hell the north of the Ozarks in
yes.
North of the Ozarks. All right, so the stupid list. I got to put Paul Feinbaum on it. I'm not a Feinbaum hater. I think his show sort of has its place in our football culture in the South, and more power to it. I understand what he's doing. It's a character-driven show. I kind of like to do some elements, quite frankly, Phil, here with the chat box.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
I like having our people as part of the show. It's kind of fun, if you ask me. So I don't get on it for taking all the calls and all that good stuff and making it a caller-driven show. Paul, sometimes has good takes, sometimes doesn't. I think he tries to be a little bit too harsh at times, but sometimes he surprises you. I mean, I don't have a problem with. I have no issue with Fine Mom whatsoever, but he's got to be on the stupid list, Phil.
That's right. That's right. I feel like he's evolved into more of a character like year over year too. It's like he's not. Yeah, it's not just Paul. Now you got the polished and refined. Paul.
Yeah, it's just crazy. So look, so I got to put him on the stupid list though because he said something stupid. So he says about Jeremiah Smith because there's all this talk about Michigan offered him $4.5 million to get in the portal, and I mean he's a great player. He's unbelievable, really. He's a stud. I mean, I can't say enough good about Jeremiah Smith. He is example A of why you recruit South Florida. He's example A of why Ohio State, being good at recruiting South Florida, has elevated their program. He's example A of why there are studs at wide receiver, and there were studs at wide receiver in the 2024 cycle. He's, by all accounts, a good person, But there's all this money floating around about him. Kind of like it's kind of unfortunate because the media is kind of facilitating it a lot like they did with Lenore Sellers. I mean, what? Yeah. The kid just won a national championship. He's a freshman. There's a reason he picked Ohio State, probably beyond money, right? He probably picked Ohio State because guess what, Phil? Their receivers catch a lot of freaking passes.
That's it. Yeah, they throw the ball.
They put a lot of freaking receivers in the NFL.
Yes.
And a lot of receivers too from South Florida have gone there, dating all the way back to, whoever. Chris Carter. I think Chris Carter coaches in South Florida. Maybe he wasn't originally a South Florida recruit, but going back a ways, Ohio State's done well at that position. That is a blue ribbon position for them if there ever has been one, and maybe they did offer the most money. Who cares? So why are we sitting here speculating? Oh, you could go get this millions, blah, 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 and Michigan, this, blah, blah. That does nobody any good. And if agents are putting it out, it's very unfortunate. Yeah. But, I don't, with Lenoris, it wasn't necessarily agents. It's just people, boosters at other schools talking. That's basically where a lot of that crap came from. So I had a friend contact me about it. I said, hey, these boosters from this school, the quarterback going to stay there? Because he's really talking it up. And I'm like, yeah, he's a moron. I was like, tell him he's not going to win this one, man. Yeah. So anyway, there's all this talk about Jeremiah Smith. So what had happened was Paul goes, if I'm Jeremiah Smith, I'm just going to sue the NCAA and go straight to the NFL because this guy is leaving tens of millions of dollars on the table every second he stays in college. So let me tell you why that's stupid. Mm-hmm. The NCAA has nothing to do with whether or not Jeremiah Smith can go to the NFL.
Right.
That's the NFL and the NFL Players Association, the union. The union, everybody's like, well, we need a union. Well, their rules, that's part of their collective bargaining agreement. The NFL says, now you got to be out of high school for 3 years before you come play. Part of that's a safety issue, in my opinion. Part of that's because they have a free minor league. So for Feinbaum to say, sue the NCAA for what? I mean, they've done a lot of stuff. You could sue them for a lot of things, but Jeremiah Smith has no ground to sue them for anything. They're not keeping him at Ohio State. In fact, because of their rules, he can go anywhere he wants in college. It's the NFL, Phil, that's keeping him from that. And I have this theory, too, that in all this crap that's happened with college football and all this, there's an organization to blame that's getting none of the blame. And that's the National Football League.
They come away unscathed virtually every
free
time.
Minor league system.
I know.
Right?
I know.
It's a free minor league system that they've got in college. And look, at some point, if you're college, you probably sit back and go, Well, if we just went back to the old way and said, listen, nothing's making you play college football to get to the NFL, you need to go sue them for their rules, because we're not professional, and we've never claimed to be a professional football development. We're here to raise money for our school and competing against other colleges. And that's our purpose. It's not to train professional football players. It's and use my thing. It's the same sport, different game. And leave it at that and say, no more money. We're going to regulate NIL, and we're going to keep the clearinghouse. No more money, no more rev share, no more payments. We're not paying you as professional athletes. If you want to go pro, go pro. Nobody's making you come to college.
Yeah.
And so then what's going to happen? Well, the top 100 players are probably going to go, yeah, let's go. And they sue the NFL. And the NFL says, all right, we're going to make a minor league. We'll send you to the XFL or whatever. Fine. Or put you on the practice squad for 3 years and pay you minimum.
And then you get, yeah, that's right. And get minimum money.
And then those top 100 players are not going to be the top 25 of them will be really good. The other 75 will be somewhere between average or out of the league.
Yeah. Or never saw the field.
Because different people, it's a maximization sport. Some people, they go up a level, they just don't want any anymore. Right? That's what happens to a lot of these guys that are really good in high school and they go to college and just can't cut it. They just, the collisions are tougher, the speed of the game, and they just don't want it. No. And that's fine. A lot of people are that way, in football. It happens. And so what are you really missing in college? You're missing 50 guys that would have busted out and disappointed your fan base. You're missing 25 guys that are just average and not worth the hype. And then 25 good players spread over 115 teams. Do you think college football people are going to quit watching college football because, those 25 big-time recruits that were ranked high in high school are not part of the team? No, hell no.
No, yeah.
and I think that's the problem with it, is that everybody so wants to vilify. And look, there are some things that the NCAA should have been vilified on, Phil, but everybody's so focused on that and focused on the me individual aspect of the player. Oh, the poor players, and all the rules are now skewed towards them.
Yeah,
everybody's forgetting what makes this sport valuable. It's the folks right here in the Nana's Porch chat box.
Right.
It's the legions of people, even the ones on Twitter, that are big fans. It's the folks that fill up that stadium. And you know what they care about? They care about their school that they love, that their family has loved for over a century in some cases. These brands have been built into these powerful brands. And it all hadn't even been because of winning. God knows it hadn't been at South Carolina.
No.
And that's so powerful, and people have shit on that so much, Phil, that it makes me sick. Yeah. It makes me sick. TV shits all over it because they don't care anymore. They're going to send you all over the country, make all these conferences, start games whenever the hell they want. Somebody dies of a heat stroke at noon on September at Florida. It's not their problem, right? You got to go to the game, blah, blah, blah. They don't care.
No.
The money grubbing people that want, they want to tear the whole thing down and pay all the athletes all the time for doing what? They don't care about you guys, the fans. Nobody does.
Lord, no. Yeah.
And the thing everybody's missing is it's like Whoville. I'm going to use an analogy. I know we're up against the break, but I'm going to use an analogy. It's a good one. Remember in The Grinch That Stole Christmas, what did the Grinch do? The Grinch came to Whoville and he stole what? Everything. Cindy Lou Who? Nah, I'm gone. I'm taking it. Get away. He took everything. Take that damn dog to the sleigh. Took it up to the top. Had all of Christmas sitting up there. What did he hear? Down from the valley, that's Christmas caroling the next morning. After the Grinch stole all of Christmas, caroling the next morning. That's what people don't understand about this sport, Phil, is that you take it all away
and the spirit is still alive.
That's right.
That's what makes college football special and college sports special. It's not Johnny 5-star. That's fun. That's fun to follow. But it's only fun to follow. The only reason people care about high school star athletes is because of their passion for their school. It's not like pro sports. It goes beyond entertainment. And so the Grinch, i.e. the TV networks and the big power brokers and the idiots that run everything and all that good stuff, and the people that think athletes are exploited, they're going to come try to take all this. They're slowly taking it. And what they don't get is, if college football would just turn around and say, you know what, take it. Because the spirit of this sport and the true value of this sport, what brings in the billions, is going to live forever. And with that, it's time to take a break. So, I just read something in the chat box about Feinbaum having his ears cut off.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh my God.
Which is perfect, T. We'll look at that when we get back. Right after these messages.
All right. Inside the Gamecocks The Show rolls on. Don't forget Resto Pro at the Midlands, like I mentioned earlier. Also, Right to Bear, righttobear.com. Our good friend Perry Orth. Check it out and all that he does. It's basically for your own good. And I'll leave it at that. Check out righttobear.com. We'll be back after these messages to wrap up Inside the Gamecocks The Show on a Monday.
We got started in 1979. Because we're a manufacturer, we're able to control our costs. That's why we like to manufacture as much of the product as we can, because in our factory stores we can offer a competitive edge over other people around the country. When people come into one of our Palm Casuals, it's like they're buying their car at Detroit. They're going right to the factory and buying their car.
30-day money-back guarantee. That's a big deal with us. I mean, we give 30 days to do anything. I mean, return it, change it, get a different color, get your money back.
When you pull into a store and it says Palm Casual, you know you're at a factory store.
Charleston Fitness Equipment is keeping South Carolina in shape. Clients have come from all over the Palmetto State to find that one piece of equipment that they enjoy that keeps them looking and feeling good. Whether it's a home rower, treadmill, elliptical, free weights, a home gym, or something else, Charleston Fitness Equipment keeps the mirror smiling back at you. Get in shape like the Gamecocks do. Visit charlestonfitnessequipment.com. Gamecock owned and operated and proud partners of Inside the Gamecocks, the show.
What Right to Bear is we're an association of members across the entire country, and what we offer is we offer legal defense in the event of a self-defense case.
Nice.
So it's not insurance. So we offer an attorney in the event that one of our members might have some type of an accident. ProtectWithBear.com. We've got all of our social media accounts on the bottom of our website. We've got blogs, articles, detailed description of all of the coverages in depth, and we'd love to have you come check us out and ultimately get the protection you need.
Hi, I'm Joel Lurie. If you're turning 65 this year or retiring soon, you probably have questions about Medicare. How do I enroll in Medicare? When do I need to enroll? And what plan fits my needs and budget?
Why use an out-of-state call center when you can work with a local agency?
At Lurie Life and Health, we'll research your doctors and prescription drugs, and we'll help you find the plan that meets your needs and budget.
Lurie Life and Health. Our service is at no cost. Call Lurie Life and Health in Columbia, 803-256-2067.
Mike here for my good friend Troy Branham of Golden Gate Mortgage. Let's face it, it's been a rough go for mortgage rates the last couple of years. And now more than ever, you need someone on your side to get you the very best possible rate on a new mortgage or a refi. That's where Troy comes in. 27 years of experience working for you. Conventional, FHA, VA, USDA, renovation, rehabilitation loans, all doable with my man Troy Branham of Golden Gate Mortgage. And when I say doable, I mean the best possible rate that's out there. It's a phone call that can literally save you thousands of dollars. 803-238-0111. 803-238-0111. You can also check out the website ggmortgage.com.
Welcome back, everybody, inside the Gamecocks The Show. Final segment of the show to kick off the week here. Oh, I meant to send that out. Anyway, I was looking at talk about people on Twitter. I was putting out that really interesting Grinch and Whoville analogy, which I've never thought of before, but is very true, JC. So good call there, man. You nailed that one.
I appreciate that, Phil.
Yeah, I like it.
I come up with some good things every now and then.
That's probably gonna appear on YouTube here later this evening.
Make sure it's more than 8 minutes long. Because we gotta monetize.
8 minutes. To turn it into a short and then make 3 cents off of 1 million views.
1 million views.
1 million views. Here's your pennies.
Anyway, inside the Gamecocks The Show, final segment. Kreger says from the Nana Sports chat box, JC, do you think a player will ever make enough in college that he doesn't even go pro? Yes. Maybe. Carson Beck. Keep an eye on that. I'm just saying. Carson Beck.
I wonder if he has designs on the NFL at this point. Or is he just kind of... Maybe that's why he stayed in college.
I don't know that he's good enough. And I don't know
either.
that Miami is going to get him good enough. And I don't know that... I think when you're talking about the money, right, that he's making, that... Yeah, I mean, I'm not quite sure. I don't know. Who am I to say what he's actually pulling in? I mean, but that kind of money, really, even today with eggs being $9 a carton in some places, which is ridiculous. They're blaming bird flu or duck flu or chicken flu, something.
Yeah, they said it was some sort of bird flu. I don't know. All I know is I walked into Aldi yesterday and they were $3.99 a dozen and they were limit 2. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not even going to buy one. I just won't eat eggs for a little bit until you get the prices back to where they need to be.
See, there's a ton of eggs eaten here. Like, eggs are a staple of everybody's diet. The kids eat rice and eggs. Like, I'm not a big rice and eggs guy, but I'm funny about my eggs. Omelets, fried. I'll eat them, but they can't just be any old eggs. Like one time when I was, I guess, doing some theater back in the day, you had to eat some food, and I was doing the Diary of Anne Frank. Very happy, chipper play, right?
That's right. Yeah, good feelings.
Yeah, I think I got kidnapped by Nazis at the end. I was Mr. Von Dunn. And you had to eat, and one of the assistant directors was like, oh, well, when we were doing theater, we used dyed scrambled eggs. And I'm like, oh, man, you're going to make that and dye it, and it's going to be cold? I'm going to throw up.
Right, yeah, exactly.
I'm going to throw up. I can't deal with that, dude. That's just not me. But, I do like eggs. But anyway, a lot of eggs around here. So we've been going through the whole egg deal, too. So we'll see what happens.
All I hope is I have enough to make cornbread because we are having beans. So I'm going to need some cornbread to eat with those beans.
Cornbread's still cheap. I get the Jiffy, the 6-pack.
Well, that is true. You could go get that. Yeah.
Because we have
because that's not, you don't need an egg for that, right? You just add milk, right?
Yeah.
Milk, yeah.
It's just as good. I mean, when I make my chili, the wife makes it. It's I mean, nobody up north knows how to make homemade cornbread.
I was gonna say, yeah,
it ain't happening.
My cast iron skillet would get mad at me if I brought it back.
How dare you? How dare you, sir?
Oh, here, I'm going to rust.
So, but yeah, Craig, to answer your question, that's one I have an eye on because I'm like, because there was a lot of money there. I mean, it's kind of funny how this gets started about this one particular player because everybody's talking about he got $4 million to go to Miami. Well, it was out there last year. He got $4 million to go back to Georgia. So
which one is it? Right.
I think people are so lazy sometimes these days, or they just forget that they just repeat numbers. Like some of the narrative pushers that they think college football exploits all the players and all the money should go to the players and blah, 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 blah. And basically ignore what I said about Whoville earlier. They're the ones, they just, 4 million, let's repeat it. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Ooh, I call it the philosophy of ooh wee. You remember when you were like a kid, and you're like, ooh wee?
Mm-hmm.
You got a booger in your nose, or ooh wee, you got poopy in your pants, or ooh wee, you fell down. That's how people are these. Ooh wee, he got $7 million. Ooh wee, y'all gonna have to pay now. Ooh wee, it's gotcha. Ooh wee BS. But back to the point. Carson Beck to me would be a one to keep an eye on. Because let's say he goes to Miami. Let's say really, I mean, look, I think it's great that Miami's replacing Cam Ward with Carson Beck. Can Carson Beck do what Cam Ward did?
No.
How about no?
How about no?
So they're going to have to block a little better, and Miami did. And, the Miami had a great offense. Don't get me wrong. Did they fix the defense? I don't know. I know they hired a new coordinator and got some guys in from the portal like they always do. Now if he tears it up at Miami and gets in the Heisman race and the Canes, I'm tired of talking about them being back.
Yeah, right. They're not.
They're not.
Not back.
You don't lose to Syracuse and Georgia Tech with a national championship on the line if you're the University of Miami and expect anybody to tell you you're back, right? And it was a joke. They were still being talked about. A big joke. That should be on the stupid list as well. To me, if he does that, then yeah, he's going to go get drafted high and get a big payday. I'm just not sure that guy's ever going to work out in college football. I mean, in pro football. And that's just my opinion, and I may be wrong, and I'll own it if I am. I've been wrong before. I'll be wrong again.
Wrong again.
But if you want to know somebody that may just, take the money and run, or not run, but take the money and say, I'm going to go invest it, and I'm not going to get my brains beat in anymore. And I played a lot of ball and made a lot of money doing it, and go into the private business and make some money and all that. Shoot.
Yeah. Yeah.
That, if those dollar amounts are accurate, which I have no reason to think they're not, then he's got enough to kind of chill, And so that's a long way to answer that question, Kreger. It's a great one, though. And I think there are going to be more players like that, too, that are really good at college, even if they're draftable, like high draft picks. They may just not want to play anymore. Like I said, in the sport, it's like some people get up to the next level, whether that's junior high to high school to college to pro, and that's it. They're like, it's not for me, man. Too fast, people too big, too strong. Now the other side of it is, if you care about money and you're good enough to be drafted in the top 10 and get a big old signing bonus, why not? You don't even have to make it to that next contract. But the vast majority of players drafted do need to make it to that next contract, right?
Right.
So maybe there's some, but I don't be surprised if there's some guys in New York. Why did he give up football? Because he was tired of playing.
That's right.
It's a tough sport, right? We know that.
We've seen guys at the next level that just like out of nowhere retire, right?
Yeah, done.
5, 6 years. They're like, nope, yeah, I'm good.
I'm out. So Frederick says Audie is coming to Beaufort this spring. Frederick, I saw you ask something about Todd Graham in the chat box. You talking about the former Arizona State coach in the other show, and I didn't want to jump in and have a conversation while they were on the air. I interjected enough while I was in there. Let Mike and JB talk. But what did we mean by Todd Graham on that? Was Mike talking about Arizona State or something? Anyway, Kreger said he saw on Instagram yesterday Carson said he was making $10 million. That's with endorsements and all that, allegedly. So we'll see. But that those numbers, it doesn't matter if they're accurate. Everybody's just going to take them and run with them. Oh yeah, he's talking about Todd Graham
yeah.
looking for the next big payday. Yeah, dude, he left.
Yeah, he'll bail on you in a
He
heartbeat.
went from Rice. I think he's at Rice 1 year, Tulsa. Then he went to Pitt for a year, and then Arizona State up. And he's like, I think I'm going to go there. I always kind of liked Todd Graham. You know, he was pretty good at hiring assistants. Mike Norvell was his OC for a long time. People don't know this. Todd Graham was a defensive guy. He's a defensive guy for Rich Rod. Todd Graham's defensive coach. But, you know, he kind of got in trouble when he was coaching at Hawaii. So, and he was he and Dana Holgerson both. Now, that is a Sonny Dykes has no fear of hiring analysts because he had Holgerson and Todd Graham as his analyst at TCU this past year. So I didn't know when you asked that, Frederick, because of the TCU connection, I didn't know if something was out there that Carolina had. Maybe he was coming here as an analyst because of a connection through Donate or something like this. I don't know. But, you know, yeah, so to answer that question, that's good. But I'm glad Aldi's coming to Beaufort just for y'all's sake. And
I love Aldi.
It's not as cheap as it used to be, but it's still, man, I feel so much better going through that line, and I have groceries or at least what they have, right? You know, that I need, and spending that 40 instead of automatically 70 every time in the other stores.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's like it is not as cheap as it used to be, but it's still less expensive than the big name supermarkets out there.
It's ridiculous.
I know.
Clint says Mario Cristobal is one of the most overrated coaches in America. Yeah, at this point, with what he's done at Miami, you have to say that. I will remind everyone that loves to rank Dan Lanning third and second in their national coaches polls and stuff that Dan Lanning's essentially done at Oregon what Mario Cristobal did at Oregon. Nothing more.
Nothing more.
You know, well, I'm sorry. Mario Cristobal did not win the Big Ten. They weren't in the Big Ten. Maybe he didn't win the Pac-12 either. So, okay, so he's got a conference championship. But record-wise, results-wise, Oregon's that one-loss, two-loss team. They've been that way for a while. So, and look, I generally like Dan Lanning. I used to like Mario Cristobal quite a bit. You know, thought he was a go-getter in recruiting. Then I knew some folks that worked for him, that not work for him now, but worked for him at Oregon. That they're like, oh man, this there's kind of some toxicity that took place. I'm actually surprised that Miami has had some of the same problems they've had through the years, no matter who the coach has been there under him, namely being soft. You know, and that's Miami football, the one I grew up watching, the U, even through the early 2000s, early 2000s, nothing soft about those guys at all.
No.
They showed up and wanted to beat your face in and humiliate you physically. And this team, that's all the hype, but none of the substance, because they are soft as butter. Now watch them end up getting really good and really tough, Phil, right about the time South Carolina plays them in a couple of years.
Oh, yeah, please.
That's what'll happen. The U will actually come back when the Gamecocks have them back on the schedule. So, anyway, that's Craig says Lidl. Is that how do you say it? Lidl?
Yeah, Lidl is how we
Lidl. Yeah. Well, they have one in Greenville. They don't have one here.
Yeah.
So
yeah, Lidl. I don't know. I like their bakery. They have fresh baked goods.
Yeah, Aldi's a better alternative for poor people. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's right. When you got a Family Dollar to stretch.
Dude, Harris Teeter's come up, Phil, though. Last time I was in Greenville, well, not last time, but I was in Greenville in 2020. Went down for that opening weekend of college football was the end of September. Went down to see my buddy. Nat and I flew down during the pandemic. Mask on the whole way. That sucked.
Oh, God.
But got there, went to my buddy's house, basically just watched football all day. My mom came over. It's a nice little meet and greet, right? And when we got there Friday night, my buddy's like, oh, let's go get a drink. Get a beer. I'm like, oh, where are we going? What's, you know, and everything was open by then anyway.
Right.
He's like, Harris Teeter.
We're going to go to the grocery store.
Harris
Teeter. Up to the bar.
Seriously.
Yeah.
We went and had beers at Harris Teeter.
I know.
Pleasant on Augusta Road. In
Yeah,
Greenville.
you can do that at Lowe's too. I think there's a couple
Lowe's
places where
Foods,
you can
yeah.
drink in there, and I'm like,
I'd give anything to have a Lowe's Foods up here.
I
Up
bet
here
that
is a
would
place called Pete's Market. It's okay, but a place called Caputo's. It's kind of supposed to be the Italian type grocery store. There's nothing like Lowe's Foods here.
I do enjoy the Lowe's. They've got all kind of interesting stuff that you can't get elsewhere.
They have a sausage section.
Yeah, I love that. That's
Well-
and that's precisely what where my mind was like. You can get all that sausage. That's Lowe's.
Now
you
look,
drink your beer and
down
make your
there, down there though, a sausage section is weird. I mean, it's like, yeah, that's a novelty.
Right.
You spend a little more for that sausage section. Up here, every store has a sausage section.
Right.
Sausage section. Sausage. So, but I remember Publix used to be probably where the more expensive grocery store, but it was when I was single, like, and didn't have to. And this is one thing, since being married, stepkids and all that, you start to see how your food bill blossoms.
Right. Yeah.
That's a
good way to put
it's
it.
a much bigger expense than it used to be for old JC. And so it's
trying to race to the top of the canopy.
Yeah,
and
you're
compete
like,
with the tall
wow.
trees for the sun.
But like
It's
when it was just me,
ridiculous.
I'd roll into Publix and spend $40 and have groceries for a while, and get me a sub,
Mm-hmm.
But there's no Publix up here either. I've talked about grocery stores long enough. But yeah, that's I will. I'm gonna save that complaint for tomorrow. Look, can we talk about the basketball team for just 1 second?
Yeah, we got a few minutes. We could get it in there, man. It's just
I want to say this. I opened the show talking about empathy for Bills fans and for Phil and the Redskin or the Commander Skins.
Commander Skin.
The Com
Commandos.
Skins. The Commandos.
Or as I have been calling them, the commies, just the commies.
The commies.
The Washington commies. Probably change that.
No. Yeah. Anyway, look, man, I know I've been frustrated with the way this team's played, and look, I think the criticism was fair. I don't think they were playing it, but I'm to the point. I feel really bad for them right now.
Yeah, it's got to just be like ripping their hearts out, right? I mean,
there comes a point where, as fans and people that talk about it, where you just got to say, there's no sense getting mad anymore.
Right.
I mean, no sense getting frustrated. They'll either find a way to win at some point or not, but you just start thinking about it. I mean, you watch Lamont Paris talk about it, and he's right. I mean, if you listen to what he's saying after the games, he's spot on with his comments, right? I mean, they're right there. It's a tough year. They haven't done what they needed to do to win. They're 0-7 for the first time in the SEC. I want to cut them some slack. I to come all the way back I haven't seen that. When they got down 14, I was like, that's over.
Yeah, it could have easily ended with a 28-30 point loss, right? But it didn't.
Yeah, and it didn't.
They fought.
They came back, tied it up, couldn't get it done in overtime. Just not good enough. Just not good enough. Even on the good days. So I'm going to give them a break, and I encourage everybody else to do that too. It's just going to be one of those lost years. I asked the question on coffee this morning, Phil, can they get to the NIT? Even that's going to take like a 6-5 finish in the league.
And maybe a win or two in the tournament.
Well,
the SEC
the good news is if the SEC gets 12 in, the next two teams in the standings get an auto bid to the NIT.
Well, hey, there
they
you go.
They changed the rules, so
yeah, that's right.
You get up to that. You're Arkansas is lurking right there. Hey, Georgia, I didn't know. I knew this, but it kind of just dawned on me. As good as Georgia's been at basketball this year, and they're a lot better under Mike White this year than they have been. That's tomorrow. I think tomorrow or Wednesday night's opponent. What is it tomorrow night?
Wednesday I think it's tomorrow this week. Yeah.
I thought it was Tuesday in Athens.
Yeah, because the women play tonight. Yeah.
Yeah, they're 2-5 in the league.
Yeah.
Not so stellar. All of a sudden, now you got Vanderbilt beating top 10 teams and getting fined $500,000 for storming the court again. All of a sudden, Oklahoma's caught fire. I mean, Texas beat A&M. I mean, it's just it's sick. So, if Carolina can win a few, I mean, you never know. I need to check on the rule and see if you have to have a winning overall record to get that auto bid, though. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. Or is it standings or is it net ranking?
Oh,
that would be my other question about that, but I don't know.
Do you think Vandy's court and field storming fines are slowing down their stadium construction date? It keeps pushing the date back out. They're like having to call the contractors and be like, "Listen, I'm about $500,000 short again. You think we just put a pause on this?
Call Nate
till I get my money back, right?"
Call Nate Bergazzi. He's doing well. One or two Vandy fans. Heck, I don't know. It looked like I would have loved to have seen some progress made before we went up there. It's going to look really cool. This football stadium.
It will when they get it done. It's going to be.
And what they're doing with baseball is pretty awesome. Memorial Gym's always been a barn, and it helps. It's got character, but yeah, I don't know. That's I don't know how much money that is. That's third violation. Clint says you can tell guys are getting tight in the last couple of minutes. Nobody seems to want to take the bull by the horn, so to speak. Yeah, and that's what I mean by learning how to win.
Yeah.
I'll never forget Lou Holtz when he was talking about building Notre Dame. He's like, the first year we had a guy, got you guys, didn't know how to win. Second year we had a guys that wanted to win but didn't quite know how to get there. Third year we had a guys wanted to win, knew how to win, and we just couldn't always play our best. But that's a thing of the past. You're not out there in Notre Dame, you're not going to win anything, But that's always stuck with me. It's a process sometimes.
Right.
Today, you don't really have a lot of time, but in season, sometimes the light comes on. But I'm just going to stop being critical about it. And I don't think I've been unreasonable, but and I'm not coming down on myself. I stand by it. But I've gone from being extremely frustrated to really my heart kind of goes out to these guys. Right. Just because I just don't know how much more you can take. Right. Anyway, we're out of here. Boy, that 2 hours goes by fast. Manders. The Manders.
Manders. I like it.
Manders, man.
I might do that.
I'll tell you that right now.
Them good old Manders, man.
There's a bunch of people in North Carolina that pull for the Manders and the hills of Virginia.
I know. It was disappointment. That's all right.
Oh,
hey,
well.
You're ahead of schedule, though.
Listen, no doubt. And I read an article that Dan Snyder's mad.
Yeah, which was even better. Oh, that made my weekend before the outcome of the results. I was like, yeah. Dan,
we can't lose.
Look at that. You're gone now. We made it to the
lose.
championship game.
So, all right. So, reminder, everybody, that D's Wings is a sponsor in West Columbia. If you want wings, go out there and check that out. Yeah. Also, the Barn Dough Co., Palm Casual. We mentioned all those right here on Inside the Gamecocks The Show. I'll be back with coffee in the morning. 12 episodes into that little venture. It's been pretty popular. Yeah. Going to get back to talking a little about going through all the players and stuff. It's very football focused. So check that out. Thank you for coming to the Garnet Trust event. If you were one that came to the event this past weekend, appreciate all of that. And other than that, we will see you guys tomorrow. I'll circle back on the NIL stuff and the under the table money conversation that Mike and Jamie were having earlier, because I got some things to say about that. Maybe a little different take than those guys had. But we'll talk about all that tomorrow. Come armed with your questions, football, recruiting, whatever. Phil, get us out of here, buddy.
That's right. Don't forget. And, of course, morning show fires up at 10 o'clock tomorrow, and we will have Alex Jones in there. Mike might be back. Not entirely sure what his travel schedule is, but until then, y'all, we'll see you with JB in the morning show tomorrow at 10. JC and I'll be right back here on Inside the Gamecocks, the show, right at noon. Enjoy the rest of your evening. We'll talk at you later.